Today's conversation will be great. You know why? Because I'm talking to an amazing piece of talent. Yes, I said it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will compare this guest to a rocket because that's how fast they seem to be going at the time. Career is exploding. Television, movies, all of the above, truly taking this screen by storm. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to Comedy Gold Mines, Nora Lum, a.k.a. Awkwafina, a.k.a. The Rocket.
Yes. I like it. No, I'll take it. Hi. Hi, Kevin.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How you doing?
I am good. For our listeners here, let me let you know where this relationship starts. We did a movie together.
Yes.
That's right. I had the pleasure of working with Nora. We did a film, a little small film called Jumanji. Jumanji The Next Level. And I had the pleasure of working with Nora and talking to Nora and getting a small level of understanding because we talked, but, you know, it was never crazy in depth. You know, we asked each other questions about what are you doing next? What are your plans? But this is my opportunity to really get to talk to you in a way that I didn't then. I remember when the conversation of Jumanji came up and you were brought up and everybody went crazy. They were like, oh my God, we'd be so lucky to get her. This was after Crazy Rich Asians, and your role in Crazy Rich Asians was so dope. You presented yourself as a comic relief, but also as just a real force in that world of improv, spontaneity, just kind of knowing where to be, what to do, and what to say. I could tell that some stuff was written, some stuff wasn't, but that character in Crazy Rich Asians really popped. Really fucking popped. And I found synergy. I'm going to tell you how I found synergy here, Nora. I found synergy to myself in Think Like a Man. And my role in Think Like a Man was set up the same way. It was set up for me to pop. And if you pop correctly, things after follow. Did you know during Crazy Rich Asians that role was possibly the role of a lifetime for you?
You know, I didn't, but I did know what I knew about how it felt, which I felt like comedically free. And I felt that I just had like the complete trust of like everyone around me that I was, you know, so like I knew that there were like liberties with it that like I really liked, you know, but in terms of it popping, I mean, yeah, I don't know. So you say you felt that.
I felt that.
Wow.
I felt that. During Think Like a Man, there was moments where we were on set. You just used a term called comedically free, right? Mm-hmm. And using that same phrase where I saw that I was able to do what I want. Mm-hmm. Where the director and my cast, my co-stars, where they literally took a step back at times and was like, okay, this is where Kevin's going to go.
Wow.
And it was kind of set up. And there was moments where I felt like I was knocking that ball out.
Yeah, for sure.
I felt it during. So the reason why I ask you that, because in watching Crazy Rich Asians, there's scenes where I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's just like, it's everything that it's supposed to be. You're so good in those scenes. You're so good in the movie in general. And it's like, I just wanted to know if you had that moment of clarity while doing it, or was it after seeing it were you shocked?
I mean, you have to also understand, I really did not act a lot before that movie, you know? So I honestly just was really surprised at, first of all, how close I felt with everybody, right? So I think that goes with it. But yeah, when I saw it, I just felt that, you know, yeah, I enjoyed my parts in it for sure. But, you know, it's such a contrast against what everyone else is doing though, too. I feel like a lot of the heavy lifting is actually people that are like carrying the story. Whereas like, you know, my character kind of comes in very sporadic moments, you know? So that's also kind of cool to, you know, to also see people around me doing stuff.
You said that you didn't act a lot before that. How did this role come about?
You know, it was really weird. I got like a Facebook message from this like Asian British actor friend that I knew. And he was like, I just got an open casting call for Crazy Rich Asians. You should audition for this. And I was like, I don't even know how I would audition. At that point, I'd never acted, any of that. And then like 2 years later, I remember always seeing the book in the airport. And I just remember being like, oh, it says Asians. And you know, at that time, it wasn't a lot of Asian stuff, you know, especially in Hudson News. But years later, I think like 2 years later, I met with John Chu and I auditioned for it.
And it's so random, by the way, how things just happen, right? Like
I know.
it's not planned. Not like you got a layout. There's a storyboard as to how things are going to work out. Something as random as a friend calling you for an open casting call leads to just you just having something on your mind that wasn't on your mind, and then blink, it pops up into your space and your thinking space, and before you know it, oh shit, this becomes your reality. By the way, that's the world and structure for most things surrounding comedic talent in general. It's very much a sporadic space of opportunity because it's never expected when things happen, and when they do is holy shit, I can't believe. What was your background that got you there? Tell my audience what your background was that got you to the place of even being considered for your friend to call you and say, yo, you should go out for this.
Well, the background for that situation was I randomly met a guy, and that, you know, at that point I had music videos up.
That's what I want you to talk about. I'm talking about your world of music and videos.
Yeah, I always had made music, and then, you know, I published a music video. I wrote it when I was like very young, like in my teens. And then I didn't actually publish it until like 24, something like that. Yeah, it was just like, it was that world, but also then, you know, what next? Okay. And I never thought about acting as like a possibility ever. So, you know, with that, I think there was always a comedic sensibility to all of my music stuff. So, you know, that was the most important driving factor. And my music was never meant to be anything but, you know, just that, you know. So by that time, I had gotten a manager, and he was kind of like, well, let's maybe get you an audition. And yeah, but like the Crazy Rich Asians thing, I don't know. Yeah, it was. So at that point, like I was looking for maybe what's next, you know.
You have to educate yourself. For my listeners, man, you got to educate yourself on Nora and just her music background. Like when she's talking about, she's being very modest right now. But I can say the attention that has been driven her way, it comes from the music videos that she's done, and there's a comedic tone to it all. But you really see a sense of charm. You see star. I'll be honest with you. You can see where the starlight cadence is basically seen, and why the opportunities are now coming her way. You know, we're talking about Crazy Rich Asians being her first movie. We're talking about her stealing that movie from the comedic perspective. But then after that, multiple opportunities came after. I mean, goodness gracious, we're talking about Jumanji: The Next Level. I mean, you are recently in the Marvel movie it's about to come out or is out. What's the name of it?
Shang-Chi, and it's coming out September 3rd.
What is this role?
This role is Shang-Chi's best friend. So she, you know, is very much just of the normal world, and kind of goes with him on this like really insane journey to kind of rediscover his past. And
how did you do that? How did you somehow land yourself in the world of Jumanji and then somehow jump over to Marvel? Do you even understand how massive that is? Are you aware of how crazy that is? Like, you got to pinch yourself right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's like, you know, these things, it's like you're so happy about them happening, but it's like the pinch me moments are also like, well, when's either shoe gonna drop? You know, like it's like you know, it turns into more of a panicky pinch me moment than like a, you know, like this is it's when things are, you know. So I always have that embedded in me, but I'm trying to teach it out of me. But, you know, yeah, it was a massive transition. I think, like, I guess, how I want to know how you, like, kind of negotiated with kind of all this, and like when it started happening for you.
When it started happening, I mean, when I was in that position that you're in right now, it was a high level of excitement. First of all, you can't bypass the level of holy shit, right? There's a major amount of holy shit that I had. And I can relate to what you just said, which is, okay, there is holy shit, but then there's like, okay, wait, what the fuck is happening after this? what is, hold on, wait, oh shit, well, hold on, this is happening, but wait, okay, now, when this drop, wait, I better get it, wait, well, what next? I don't want to be out here with nothing else going on. I quickly understood and learned how to develop. I quickly understood the world of conversation and project and attachment, right? Like it was, okay, I'm doing this, and there's so much attention attached to my name, but I don't want to wait for something else to come up. What can I spark the conversation of or on? And I attached myself to a great producer. It was Will Packer at the time.
Oh yeah, I love Will
and
Packer,
Will Packer and myself, we did a crazy run of about six to seven successful movies. But we stayed in that think tank. It was the ride-alongs. At the ride-alongs, it was About Last Night. We did Think Like a Man. We did Wedding Ringer. Like we kept looking for material that I could star in, that we could produce and develop. And we had a studio that was willing to ride that machine as well. So my advice to you, and I take away the word advice. Information, because advice means do it like I would do it, and I don't mean that at all. Information that I can give you is right now. You even have. I know that there's a TV show that you have now. It's that's on Comedy Central, right? Nora from Queens.
Yeah, Nora from Queens. Yeah,
and it's like that's more development that's attached to you as a star. I would say from just an information perspective, find more ways to do that with film as well, especially in today's time, because the conversation of diversity is louder than it's ever been, right? It's so loud, and the opportunities that are now at hand are good, and they're good for good reasons, because I think studios are truly trying to make the efforts of following the lead of the conversation and making that change. And when there's a talent as strong as yourself that you can attach to real strong material, the only recipe is win. Like right now, we're talking about you in a fucking Marvel movie after being in Jumanji, and we're talking about other starring roles and guest starring roles. Like, you're very much a part of the comedy conversation, especially with women in entertainment right now. And I think that's so dope. It's so fucking dope.
Thank you, Kevin. No, thank you for that information too, because I feel like that's ultimately where you want to go. Like, do you ever feel like I was an executive producer on my show, and that was like, there's a lot of stuff that like actors, it's not that they're not told, they're just not involved in it. They come to work, they assume that work starts in the hair and makeup trailer, and then there's so many decisions, and there's like so many people like involved in everything. It really makes you appreciate the process more. But there's some times where it's like, I do enjoy this, like not even in a way where, I just want to like do, I genuinely want to be on the ground. I want to do it. And I know that that's the kind of person you are too.
Absolutely. I find so much excitement in Ground Zero.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. For real.
Ground Zero is dope to me because you truly get to see how this thing starts.
Yeah.
And how it finishes, right? Like starting, like when you say, all right, I'm in the beginning stages, Kevin, and I have such an appreciation because, you're EPing on your show, right? And, on this show that's developing, by the way, let's make sure we shout it out properly. We're talking about Nora from Queens, drops August 18th on Comedy Central.
Yes.
It's another product, another project that this amazing talent that I'm talking to today has had the opportunity of developing, being a part of, and it's about to be on display for you all to see it. So make sure you lock that in, okay? As I'm talking, I want to make sure I throw that to you.
Thank you.
But here's the beauty of it: there's jobs attached to it. Right? There's opportunities for the people that work in craft services, transportation, your camera crew. You're talking about your other writers, your other actors, actresses. There's so many pieces to this puzzle that come together ultimately to make the right thing that was your vision. That started off as your vision. Well, when you see all of the minds that come to the table.
That's what I'm saying. Like when all those people are working hard for like something that's for you.
It's the best.
You know what I mean? It's like a really warm feeling. I mean, another thing that I always saw you do also on Jumanji is like every time you come to set, you bring with you like just like morale. You know what I mean? Like you want to make sure you come to set like and you acknowledge everyone and that everyone's kind of happy. That's like a big thing.
It's a priority. And I think I find a significant amount of joy out of doing what I love, and I would love my level of happy to rub off as much as possible on those around me, because it doesn't have to be this way, right? Like our days can be long, brutal days, but if we got an attitude that matches that, well, then they're going to be longer.
Yeah, exactly.
When you come in and it's like, hey man, look at this. I remember there was a day when we were doing Jumanji. Remember we were in they had built the town. They had built the town thing, whatever that was, right? And they had, was it camels or what did they have?
Oh, you're talking about the marketplace.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember
you did not like riding.
I did not like whatever that fucking thing was. When I tell you,
it was a camel.
But the camel, my allergies were kicking my ass. The smell from this camel, the dust. I've never seen a dustier goddamn.
Wait, have you ridden a camel?
No, listen, that fucking camel was kicking my allergies ass. But I said, I'm not gonna let this camel beat me. I'm not gonna let it happen because it's such a fun scene. It's such a fun day. And I said, if my morale goes down, I said, I feel like everybody else's morale will go down. And I was like, this fucking camel.
Our morale went up as yours went down. Because also camels lean too.
That fucking camel, man. Yo, you guys were having such a good time. I was miserable on that camel. I couldn't stand that fucking camel. But it was truly, for me, it was truly about understanding the amazing environment that we created. Like all this shit was built. We had this world. And I was like, there is no room for error, man. And I remember looking at Jake, our director, and seeing Jake. I knew how long his days was and how much was on his mind. Right. And I was also trying to take a lot off of his plate. Making sure, like, the last thing he had to worry about was us, the actors, the actresses, like us and our attitude. So that's something that I think about, honestly, on a day-to-day. I think about the whole team, the whole crew, and what mindset we all can have that can just ultimately help our project become better.
Yeah.
It's a thought, a good feeling.
No, for sure. I mean, I noticed that from Jumanji, from you, and I always want to do that too.
Now back to Comedy Goldmines with Kevin Hart and his guest, Adam McKay, nominated for 2 Oscars this year with his movie, Don't Look Up.
Was Will still on SNL at the time when Elf came? He was still there? Did he leave?
Let me try and remember when he left. I think he was still...
That's a very pivotal moment.
He was still on SNL. Yeah, he was still doing SNL because I left in like 2000, 2001. And he left, I think, in like 2003. So he had done Old School, Elf, and then we filmed Anchorman. He might have left when we were doing Anchorman, or maybe it was right after it he left SNL.
And with you with Anchorman, this was the directing debut, the writing, everything, the whole nine. You know, was it a tough sell for you at that point with the studio? Like, yo, I'm gonna direct it. Like, I wanna do this film. I want to have control over it. Like, after Will had that success, was it hard for him to sell you as his guy, or for the studio to buy you as being the guy?
Well, before he had this success with Old School, it was impossible. No one would do it. They're like, this guy isn't directed. I'd done a bunch of short films on SNL, but some of them were a little strange. I think they scared off some of the studios. They were like, what is this? And so once he hit with Old School, then it was like I was able to get through the wire. Like, up until that point, it wasn't going to happen. And so they wanted Will so badly. They wanted his next project so badly. Plus, they knew I could direct. I mean, they'd seen my short films, and you know, some of them were a little more mainstream. Some were a little crazy. And they had met with me. They knew I knew what I was doing. So from that point on, the second we got to film, it was just pure enjoyment. It was so fun.
And putting the cast together, you know, from the gate, when you guys were writing, did you know that's who you wanted? Did you know that you wanted to go after Steve? Did you know that you wanted to go after, you know, everybody that was in it? I mean, what was the cast? Go through the cast of Anchorman for me.
It was Carell. It was Christina Applegate. It was Paul Rudd. It was Dave Koechner. It was Fred Willard. It was Vince Vaughn. But no, we actually auditioned people. We didn't know who was going to play Veronica Corningstone. So we auditioned a bunch of people. We had some really good people audition too. And we kept doing callbacks. And it really came down to Applegate was perfect. And then we did auditions for all the other roles. And I remember we were torn between Steve Carell and this other actor. And finally, I just said, look, I was in Chicago when Steve Carell was at Second City. I've never seen the guy not be funny. And that was the tiebreaker. It was just like, he's always good. And then Rudd was between Rudd and Bob Odenkirk. Those were our two choices. And people don't know, but Odenkirk wasn't really acting much back then. He was more of a writer who did some little parts. And that was a tough decision because they were both hilariously funny. We loved both of them. And ultimately the studio was like, can we go with the guy who's more of an actor? And that was the tiebreaker on that. But I always say to Will to this day, like, hey, we had pretty good taste. Like Odenkirk, no one was casting him. And it was between him and Rudd.
No, that's strong.
And then Vince Vaughn, we knew we wanted. Like we knew Vaughn was perfect as the foil for Wes Mantooth. So fortunately, Vaughn did us a solid. He did the movie. And then Willard is an all-time comedy legend. We wanted him.
Legend.
We got Chris Parnell was in there. Katherine Hahn had a small role in there, and she was awesome. Luke Wilson pops up. Ben Stiller does a cameo. Tim Robbins. So yeah, we kept kind of like filling out those roles with little cameos and friends and stuff. But it was a crazy movie. I mean, when we first test screened it, it got laughs the whole way through. But at the end, we got our scores. And you know how they do it, Kevin. You get that score. It's from 1 to 100.
You get the score.
And they count the top two boxes. You think the movie's excellent or very good. And they total them up. And generally speaking, you want to be above a 70, right? You want to be, and maybe even above a 65. At our first screening, we got a 50. And we were like, what? And the marketing lady came to us from DreamWorks and she says, you idiots, you killed the dog. And I said, what do you mean we killed the dog? Like, because originally Baxter got kicked off a bridge by Jack Black, but he doesn't come back in the movie. That was it. And I'm like, but it looks so fake. Does anyone really think the dog died? And then, so sure enough, we did a reshoot and we had the dog come back and our scores went up 25 points. Like night and day, total difference. And I was like, all right, note to self, don't ever kill the dog.
I love you coming back. You idiot. You killed the dog. Yeah, what are you talking about? It was funny. You talking about when Baxter gets booted off the bridge? It's one of our biggest laughs in the movie. Yeah, but he's dead. Yeah, I know, but it's not a real dog. It's not a real dog. So is this when you guys, I would say, like, there's a moment that I've had, right, in my career where it's like, the light bulb went off. And the light bulb was that I can make my own movies. I can now produce, develop my own films with my team, with my company, right? And it's one of the best feelings to have is the one of like control, kind of controlling your destiny, your future, and having the trust in your partner, right? Like you're still being hired, but you're more of a partner. When did the light bulb go off for you, Adam, that you could put some consistency behind developing these films? Like, was it after Anchorman and seeing like, oh, wow, people saw this material, people love the material, I want to give people more of this. Like, what was your personal light bulb of this is what it's about to be? It can be so much more.
I would say it was after Talladega Nights because you do it once and you think like with Anchorman, there's a little part of you that you've only done it once. So you wonder, is it a fluke? Can we really do this again? And then when we did Talladega Nights, and I felt like we got even better at filmmaking. I'm not saying it's a better movie, but just our filmmaking chops got better. And it felt really comfortable. After that, it was like, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then after that, we also started producing. We started producing some smaller movies. Initially, we did Eastbound and Down. We did a couple little indie movies. And then we're really starting to kind of feel it like, oh, I think we kind of know how to do this. And that led us to Step Brothers, which at the time was the craziest movie we had done because we were feeling good. So we just said, let's really cut loose. Like, let's not worry about anything. Let's just make the exact movie we would want to see. And then when that worked, we were like, wow, like, this is crazy. That was the craziest movie that we could make. And it got the most mixed reviews, of course, because it was pretty crazy and silly. And yet it still did really well. And we loved it. And we were feeling really good. So the kind of peak was end of Talladega Nights into Step Brothers, where that's when Will and I started Gary Sanchez Productions together. We started a production company. That's when we were really starting to like make movies. That's where like we ended up doing, even though I didn't direct it, we produced Get Hard with you. I would come up with story ideas. I would do rewrites on the scripts. And it was just a blast. We did the campaign, which once again, I didn't write it, but I did a rewrite. Jay Roach directed it. So we were starting to do all these movies for Will. We were starting to produce a lot more. And then kind of in between the other guys at Anchorman 2, then we were doing a ton of stuff. Then we were doing all kinds of movies, all kinds of TV shows, and the company started getting really big at that point. Yeah.
You're all over the map, but in such a strong way, even when in dramas. One of my favorite shows on TV, I remember I saw your names and I was like, holy shit. Succession. What is it? Succession?
Yeah.
Succession. I'm like, holy shit. When you just start to see the things that your hands are in and that you're tied to and the resume that you guys have put together. Backing up though, just to go from Talladega Nights to Step Brothers, once again, these were so strong because they were character driven, right? And the premises were so crazy, but yet so grounded within the performances. Was that a thing that you guys kind of tried to stay true to or focus on as you came up with the crazy ideas? Was it making sure that you put Will in a position to kind of be able to go as wild and above as he can, but at the same time just grounded to find the belief in the character to make it that much funnier?
Yeah, that was something we learned as we went along, and especially with Talladega Nights, was that as crazy as the world was, you had to play it consistently. That it had to be like, if you look at old comedies like The Blues Brothers or Airplane or any of those old legendary comedies, as crazy as they were true to themselves. You didn't break your reality. And also there was like a real story, like even in the movie Airplane, they got to land the plane. They're going to die. Like you actually, even though it's ridiculous, you a little bit care that they're going to land the plane. So we started getting better and better at that. And I've always been a film fan anyway. I like all kinds of movies. So one of the nice things we were able to do is draw from all these other kinds of movies. Then I brought on like a real heavy hitter DP and Oliver Wood, who shot like Born Identity, and he did Talladega Nights. So we started realizing that the better the filmmaking was, the more the reality and the stakes would go up, and then the funnier you could be because you believe the world to some degree. And I think that's what all those comedies were teaching me, like different ways to shoot things, different ways you could be artful and at the same time entertaining, that you could have a little bit of a message while still being entertaining and still being funny. So yeah, all those comedies were like the best film school you could ever have, because you just get to play with different looks and styles and work with composers and DPs.
And it does really pop your product. That's the space that I'm playing in now as well. Sometimes, I like now that for some of the things coming out, I wanted to put like a darker, grimier feel on some things. And there's still the comedy component, but the look of it gives you more of an artistic approach to the film. And, you're, like you said, that's where the creative juices start to flow even more, when you start to bring in the strengths around you from people that have done other things. And, you're mirroring certain looks by giving a different genre. It just adds a nice bonus, man. So it's dope to hear you drop the gems that you're dropping, because I think they're so valuable and ones that my listeners will be able to take away. That's the purpose of this thing, to hear and understand. You're getting inside the minds of these goddamn geniuses. And what a genius we got on the show right now. We're inside the mind of Adam McKay. And I love it. Adam, is there a preference? You talked about television as well. One of my favorite shows, Eastbound and Down. I got to be honest, Danny McBride, this is when I really got a strong dose of just how funny Danny was. Like, you know, I knew he was funny because I had seen him in movies and I had seen, like, you know, cameos and stuff that he had did. But in this show, he really got down, man. He really got down.
So funny. So funny. And by the way, Kevin, another great example of Jody Hill, his partner, who's a director. You know, those guys all went to film school. Those guys know how to shoot. They understand the history of the film. David Gordon Green is another person they work with who's a legitimately talented filmmaker. So they always had a real specific style to that show. And talk about ahead of their time. I mean, they're doing this show about, like, you know, unhinged red state kind of pride and, like, you know, boisterousness. And I remember at the time people being like, is this too much? Well, guess what? Now it's our reality. Like,
oh my God.
Kenny Powers would be a congressman from, like, South Carolina now, you know.
Kenny Powers would be president.
Yeah.
Kenny Powers.
But no, I love that show. Succession's been amazing. And yeah, I've transitioned. You know, I had a great run with Will. We had about 14 years together with Gary Sanchez. And now I have a new company, Hyperobject Industries.
That's what I was about to get to.
Yeah, and it's been fun. And that's that dividing line you were talking about. That's kind of Succession is when it started to kind of zig and zag a little bit. And, but it's been really fun. And you get to work with these great people. I get to work with Danny McBride. I get to work with, like, this Norwegian director, Tommy Wirkola. I get to work with Andrew Gerlin, like all these really interesting people. You know, we got to do the movie Hustlers and work with Lorene Scafaria, who's immensely talented, and all these different cool projects. Olivia Wilde with Booksmart, and it's been really fun.
With your reason for, you know, wanting to step away, was it a mutual decision between you and Will of just like, you know, we've had a great run, we've had a great time, we both get each other, understand each other, but let's just see what the other things are that we can kind of discover on different paths, or what? Like, what was the reason for the separation?
I mean, you know, I could give one of those fake nice answers like, hey, we're buddies, but the truth is he slept with my wife. And there's certain, I was like, I can either go to prison right now or I can move on. And I chose to move on. Yeah.
Yeah, smart. And that's the type of guy you are. You're going to think it through. You're going to think it through no matter what. This is a bit. It's people.
A bit,
He's in
folks.
a bit. He's in a bit. This is a bit.
No, we had like 14 years. The company got really big. I mean, we had a lot of people working for us, a lot of moving parts.
At your height, how many people?
God, we had about 15 working for us, but that wasn't enough.
Wow.
Because we had so many movies and TV shows going, so we might have had to expand. We also had Funny or Die, which had like 60 people working for them. We had all the representatives and the legal and the financial. I mean, if you put everyone together, you might have been at 100 people. Ooh. And it was just a big behemoth. And I think the weight of it got to be a little tiring. You know, you reach that point where it's like, boy, this is a lot. And, you know, you're managing a business. And both of us just felt like, hey, we've had a great run. Like, this got a little bigger, I think, than Will or I wanted. And so, yeah, it was time to kind of step away. So he's got a little small company now. And then I started the new one. And it's been great. Like, it's so nice to kind of go back to a little bit of a smaller size. And at the same time, I was definitely headed in more of a dramatic kind of political direction. So we get to kind of go unabashedly in that direction. I'll always do comedy. That'll always be a part of what I do. But, you know, at the same time, we've done stuff like the Q Into the Storm docuseries that was just on HBO is something we produced. And, you know, a show like Painting with John, which is definitely a very offbeat show. So we've been having a blast. We're kind of leaner, smaller, a little more, you know, idiosyncratic, but at the same time, still doing big shows and projects. And it's been really fun.
You know, it's crazy to hear you say that, you know, it got kind of big, because sometimes, you know, while you're in it, you don't realize the pace that you're growing at. Right. And I call it the success monster. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine that's a writer. And, you know, I said, the one thing about success is that it truly is a monster. And I said, the monster, it can be on your side or not. Right. And there's certain things that the monster does really well. And when it comes to growth, one thing that the monster is good at doing is getting bigger Monsters can get big if you feed it. And that success that you're talking about, you and Will were having along the way, well, you look up and you go, holy fuck. Look at you, like you're talking about, 50 people over here, 40 people over here. What do you mean I need a COO, a CFO? What are you talking about? We need our own lawyers. What do you mean we can't use the agents and we got to have oh my God, you now have this goddamn pyramid of structure that started off with just you and ideas and in a room or apartment writing sketches, and then it turned into writing scripts, and all of a sudden you're managing hundreds of millions of dollars. It happens so fast. And then there's a want attached to what you do well from the people that you're now in business with. And sometimes that's where it becomes overwhelming. That's where the pressure can add up. So I totally get it. Totally understand, man. And, I think it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story to have, and an even more amazing story to tell.
Up next, it's Danny McBride, whose movie, The Mitchells vs. the Machines, is nominated for this year's Best Animated Feature.
What are you working on now? What are you doing now?
We just finished shooting The Righteous Gemstones, the new season of that. So that comes out in January.
Season what? Is it season 3?
It should be season 3, but it's season 2 because we got shut down for COVID. We were starting to shoot the second season, and then we were 2 days into shooting when all hell broke loose, and then we
Oh my God. That's a hell of a cast, man. That's a hell of a cast.
Oh, thank you. Killer group that comes together for it. Really is. Everybody in there is really, really funny and just good people too.
For my listeners, man, if you have not seen Righteous Gemstones, you're in for such a treat. I challenge you all to go and watch it. I mean, it's such a good play just on the world of religion, right? And they do it tastefully. Like, it's not attacking a religion. It's really it's about the world of the super church, the mega church. Is that what they call them?
Mega church.
The mega churches.
Yep.
So what was the inspiration for the characters? Did you pull from any of the preachers out there? Is a little Joel Osteen in there? Is there somebody who's in there for you? Who did you watch?
I was watching a little bit of everybody at the time. I moved to Charleston, South Carolina about a little over 4 years ago. And
why Charleston?
I had never even been before. We shot Vice Principals down here, and I lived here for like 6 months and just sort of fell in love with it. The people here were so awesome, and I just like the beaches here. There's so much like the intercoastal, and the food is just incredible. And also all the guys that I work with on Vice Principals, we were here for 6 months. Everyone had kids around the same age. Everybody's kids were just little, and we just had this sort of 6-month period here where our kids were just like running around, riding bikes, hanging out at the beach, just like having this completely cool existence. And I got back out to Los Angeles, and it was sort of like, I felt like the people in Lost that like left the island. Like we're all kind of like looking at each other like, we got to go back, and
wow.
We all kind of checked in with each other, and everyone was kind of feeling the same thing. And so all the dudes went on a trip for a weekend and scouted it out. And then all the wives went on a trip and scouted out. And then we all sort of met. We're like, hey, does everybody want to move? Yeah, we moved with like 10 families.
Get the fuck out of here. That's so fucking dope. So wait a minute. So literally just the people, and were these other actors and actresses that were in Vice Principals, or was it the crew? Just a variety.
Yeah, it was the guys I direct with and write with, and some writers, some actors. Like it's kind of our like core crew, and everyone just said, yeah, let's give it a shot and see what's going on. And we went down here, and we've pushed all of our work here. We shot Halloween down here. We shoot Gemstones here, so we've been able just to push all of our work here and live here. And man, it's just been unreal. It's been incredible.
Dude, that's so dope, Danny. I'm so serious. That's so dope, because you realize that the business can revolve around you, right? I mean, when you're at a certain point, you can create and make the things make sense that you want to make sense. But I love going to a place, falling in love with a place, and it says a lot about South Carolina. I mean, goddamn, if you have the ability to turn people from Los Angeles to South Carolina, that says a lot about your city and state. So shouts out to you, Charleston, South Carolina, for being fucking amazing to make Danny go fuck Los Angeles. He said he went back to Los Angeles and said, we're getting out of this shit show. And I'm quite sure the cost of living makes so much sense down there as well, man. Just from a practicality standpoint, I'm willing to bet the opportunity for life is just so dope. And I like that it was all based on your kids and your kids having a good time as well. That's dope.
Yeah, my wife and I were just sitting in this little bar, in this little neighborhood, and we were sort of like just talking about like, what do we want to do? Do we want to move here? Are we going to like uproot here? Because my wife is from Los Angeles, so she grew up there, and all of her family's out there. And we just like looked out the window of the bar. There was this group of like 10 little dudes, probably between the ages of like 7 and 12, on skateboards with like fishing poles, just cruising down, no parents in sight. And I'm like, yeah, let's move here. Like, I'm teaching my kid how to ride a bike up off of Mulholland. He's like, his ass is never going to ride this bike anywhere. Yeah. What's he going to do up here?
Not down Mulholland. No, not down Mulholland at all. So is that where? So you're there, and what was it a high level of the mega churches there in Charleston?
There was just a lot of churches. That was what was kind of cool. Is like, growing up in Virginia, it's like I kind of had just forgot about how prevalent like church is in places outside of big cities, and churches everywhere, and every other station on the radio was religious. So it just kind of got me thinking about church again. And I used to go to church all the time when I was a kid. My parents were like Sunday school teachers, and so we were always involved in church when I was a kid. And I was just curious, like, well, what's church like now? And so I started kind of like looking at these mega churches, and they were seeming less and less like the church I sort of grew up with, and more just like rock shows. And then it just started kind of feeling like a pretty fun like place to set a TV show.
But you know what I like? Here's what makes me laugh, because in anything that you create, especially in TV, you have to have your antagonists, right? And it's who's the bad? Where's the world of bad coming from? And I love the bad guys in righteous gems. Like I love the scheme. In season 1, I don't want to give away too much, but when you had the bad guy's like fucked up. This guy, everything happened to him, from the leg, like after his injury, without giving it away. And there's nothing funnier to me than a guy. It's almost like in Home Alone, when these guys were so banged up and they had like the neck brace, the cast, and they're still trying to come and follow through with the mission later on. Like, we have a bad guy that's so determined to do the bad shit that he just doesn't realize it's not gonna happen. It's like, but he's determined. Like, for me, that's where some of the best comedy lives, man. And I think you guys have just done a really good job of capturing it. You've done a good job of what's it called when you do it? You're not mocking, but what's the cool word when you're doing a spoof? Is it spoofing? Not spoof, but whatever. It's like
humping,
parody. You guys have done a great job of parodying this world, and it's done tastefully and respectfully. So, dude, kudos to you. I'm glad you guys are coming back for another season. Movie wise, right? What are we doing there? Are we still in love with the world of movies, or has TV kind of taken its toll and become your happy place?
I definitely like working with TV, but I like movies too. I'm getting ready to head down to Thailand for about 6 weeks to go work with Gareth Edwards, the guy who directed Rogue One, to work on this this science fiction movie in Thailand. So that should be pretty cool. I haven't been to Thailand before, so I'm yanking the kids out of school, and they're gonna get a fucking education.
Are you big with the family being with you whenever you go on location? Like, do you set up the family for the duration of the project, or is it kind of like a in and out thing for you?
It's kind of different on each thing. When they were younger, we would kind of bring them along, but then once they start getting school and finding their friends, they're like less interested in just sitting around in a hotel, like, in the middle of nowhere. And so
absolutely,
that's kind of why, that was another reason why I kind of was digging the idea of being here, is that I just feel like with me and my buddies, it's like they let us make stuff, but they barely let us make it. So we always have to go to some rebate state or something. So every time I would book work when I was in LA, it was always leaving to go somewhere else to shoot it. And so that's part of when we were thinking about South Carolina. We're like, you know what, we're going to have to come here to shoot the show anyway. Let's just set up our lives here and we won't have to leave. And it was wild. It was the first time I'd ever worked and lived in the same place. Like, I would go home at the end of the night and sleep in my bed. And I was so used to not doing that. I was so used to just being on location and you're sleeping in hotel rooms or some Airbnb or anything. And it was nice. It made it feel like it was like a regular job. But, I went to Australia to shoot Alien Covenant a few years ago, and I went down by myself. I left the kids and my wife here in Charleston, and I was there for almost 3 months. And man, I just hated it. It's like I liked working on that movie and I liked being a part of it, but I hated just sort of missing all of the shit that was going on at home. And, all it takes is like one teary-eyed FaceTime from my son or my daughter. And it's just like, what am I doing? I'm just like, what the hell has my life become?
What's crazy, man, is like, it's so different for everybody. Right. And I think, with my kids, it's different because my kids have kind of been conditioned, right? Stand-up comedy, it really... It conditioned.
You're on the road.
Yeah, my kids, they know dad's in and out. And it doesn't make it better. I think as you get older, we're both at an age now. How old are you, Danny?
I'm 44 years old.
Yeah, you're 2 years older than me. I'm 42. So we're both at this age where, we're starting to look at life through a different lens and the things that really matter. Like you're talking about, you went to go film and you saw kids on skateboards and bikes and you said, fuck that, I need to be here because your priorities are driven towards your family and the opportunities for them. And it's a weird shift that happens in life when you get here. But I know that my younger self, on the road, gotta go, whatever. It's not even a second thought. Older me, I'm the same way and just thinking like, well, how's this going to affect me being home? And, when can I film? Where can I film? So I make things happen close to home. If I can't be home, well, you know what? I do it during a time where they can either come for 3 weeks and go back or they come on the weekends. But then I've also realized that time when I am filming a movie, that time away is like, it's almost like a boot camp for me. I treat it like boot camp, Danny. Like when I go do these movies, I lock in mentally, whether it's the working out, it's my morning regimen, diet, whatever. But you come home and it's quiet for some of the few times in my life, like, because I got so much going on. When I do these movies, I'm honestly unavailable. So that shut off time for me is dope to actually go into a hotel room and it's quiet. That's a thing. I don't get that thing often. So, when I do that, it's one of the ones where I gotta not fall in love with it too much. And I'm even honest with my wife. I'm like, babe. She was like, you good? You miss us? And I'm like, well, not yet. I will. I just got here, just started. So, after week 2, 3, I think I'm gonna fall into a heavy I miss you state. But right now, I'm kind of just settling in, just enjoying the quiet. It's all right. But that, I think, just for how my mind works and how it's constantly racing, I think I need that from time to time for sure.
And there's some benefits to that too. I mean, I definitely, when I've been on location for things, it's nice because it does give you that focus that like your whole life is geared towards this right now and like in achieving this. And that's kind of all you think about. And it is good. There is good to have that sort of that focus for sure.
But I mean, look, the impact that your family has on you is strong. And I love that. I love that you have that. I love that you're a family first guy. The question that I have for you is that, have you always been that? Or did you discover that you had to become that? Like with the marriage right off the back and kids. How old are your kids now?
My son is 10 years old and my daughter is turning 7 in 2 days. So they're
so dope.
Yeah, they're at a really fun age right now.
So dope.
Yeah, I mean, I had no clue. I mean, I wanted to have kids and everything, but I had no idea what it was going to be like or what kind of dad I would be or anything. I mean, I really didn't like have a clue then. Yeah, I mean, once I had them, I just started kind of like, I don't know, certain things would feel right and certain things wouldn't feel right about how I was kind of behaving. Like, man, I'm someone who's so focused on my work all the time too. Like that was another reason why I kind of wanted to get outside of Los Angeles just for myself was, I had so much fun in LA and it was such an awesome place to go through my 20s and 30s. And I met my wife there. I loved it, but I kind of found myself there, like so focused on what I was doing all the time, you know, like whether it's like driving to work and there's billboards of what everyone else is doing. I feel like my focus was so intense on it. And I don't know, there was something about when I came to South Carolina, I just kind of put what I did more into perspective, that I'm like, oh, I'm just like entertaining people. Like most people don't even really keep track of all this shit. Like they're just like living their lives and working. And what we do is just like entertainment. It's just something on the fucking weekends to take their mind off of what's really happening. And there was something about getting out of the city and like putting my job in perspective that just made me like it more. Like, I don't know. I felt like I liked what I was adding to the world. And I also kind of felt like, if it went tits up, it wasn't also the end of the world, you know, like that it's this, you know, it can be so hard sometimes when I think for me, when I was in the city, I'm just really feeling like everything needed to work and it all needed to land, and then kind of getting outside of it a little bit. And I don't know, just taking cues from people who have nothing to do with the entertainment industry and the kind of stuff they're doing with their kids and what they're exposing them to. I don't know. I feel like it was starting to make me feel a little bit more rounded about how all this stuff works and what sort of person I want to be.
You can't be more present. Like you can't be more present. You can't be more aware. And you know, I think it's definitely a thing where you just go like, fuck, man. Like, you know, am I lost in this? Is this affecting my person, my character? And if so, how do I make sure that it's not at the highest level, right? Like, how do I not get lost at the highest fucking level? And I love that you had the fucking wherewithal to go, you know what? It's getting out of here. It's getting out of here and going someplace else just to make me a little more conscious and aware.
Kevin Hart is joined by Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall on Comedy Goldmines. Their movie, Coming to America, received a nomination this year for makeup and hairstyling.
Eddie, I want to go back and I want to go back to Coming to America 2 for a minute. And the reason why, man, is because there was a moment in a movie where there was a montage, right? And this montage was attached to a celebration for one of the best actors on the planet, of course, one of the best characters in Coming to America 1. And I love the way you set him up and Coming to America 2 to kind of kick the movie off. Within the celebration, you had cameos, you had performances from some talent that I can say until this day, man, act as some of the people that I'm so in awe of, right? And I'm talking about singers, I'm talking about groups. Were these people called in because they were your favorites as well? Or was it just like a script coincidence with writers and everybody? Of course, I'm talking about, you know, the cameos of En Vogue, Salt and Pepper, and during this montage. I won't give that away. But were they there because these are people that you kind of loved and wanted to kind of throw a nod to as people that you just a fan of, etc.?
No, we was like, if we were going to do the funeral the way we were going to do it, we was like, well, the king it should be some people that the king would know about. So we couldn't have young artists singing at the king's funeral. So we had to have, you know, people from the 80s and the 90s.
And by the way, what the secret little thing that Gladys Knight does, only Gladys could do that moment.
Yes. By the way, I forgot Gladys. Shouts out to Gladys Knight. Arsenio, you got a drum set behind you. So you play drums, or
yeah, you know, in high school I was in the marching band. I had garage bands, and of course my son plays those now. And
okay. Yeah. I just saw him. I was like, I can't ignore the fact that you have a drum set behind you, Eddie.
You know, a lot of comedians play instruments and do music.
I know a few. I'm not going to
play. I know a lot of comedians play guitar, drums.
Sinbad plays guitar and on and on.
A lot of people play instruments.
Have you ever heard Tracy Morgan sing R&B?
Have you ever heard Franklin Ajayi play the lute or the flute?
No.
Yes.
I
saw Franklin Ajayi play clarinet.
No, he played whatever, like those scary.
You're imitating an oboe or a bassoon. But he has a
That
clarinet.
shit, ego would play.
That's the flute.
The ego shit. Ego notes.
Eddie, you play the guitar, right? You play the guitar?
A little bit.
A little bit. You still doing music heavy?
Still Eddie.
So what is it? Stop doing the still Eddie shit to me, man. That's how you try to. You keep doing the still Eddie. So
That's the second time I said it, nigga.
You said it 3 times. You still Eddie me 3 times.
Said it twice. Go back when you look back on the tape. You see I said it twice.
Okay. All right. Well, you may be right, but I'm definitely gonna look back. The music for you is not only a hobby, of course, it's a passion.
It's not a hobby. It's just something I do. I've always done it, but it's not a hobby.
Well, that's why I said a passion as well. I said a hobby, a passion.
I didn't say it, and I didn't say it's not a hobby or a passion. I said it's not a hobby.
Fine. You know what? You know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna have to fight. You see, this is why. It's obviously it's gotta happen. So I'm just gonna show up. I know where he lives, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. If I lose, I lose. I'm gonna go down.
You're gonna lose. You're definitely gonna lose.
Hey Kevin, when is the last time you actually were in a fight?
That's a fist fight?
Yeah, a fight where you actually had to fight.
I mean, me and my team, we get into it, man. Me and my guys.
What do you mean? You be fighting with the crew?
Hey, man, we be getting into it. Don't
play fight.
Y'all be throwing solo cups at each other.
No. We done threw hands a couple of times. It's gotten to that. We've been around each other 17 years. 17 years, a bunch of grown ass men. There's definitely gonna be.
Has anyone in your crew ever punched you in your face?
I definitely got hit. I got hit.
Has anyone in the crew ever punched you in the face?
I got hit. I recovered fast and was able to get 2 off right after, but I definitely got hit first. It was a frustration. I don't want to say he snuck me, but it was like, yo,
was he able to keep his job?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we brothers. That don't stop our business or our friendship. Is we got to get it off the chest. So what happened was I'm not gonna say which one he was because we keep all that private, but we were getting into it, like when you in the car and you arguing back and forth. An argument kind of escalated in the car. So where I'm sitting at in the car, I always got to get out last. I'm way in the back. So he had got out before me, and we were still heated going back and forth. And when we got back and forth, as I stepped out, he gave me a nice little, like it was shoulder and chin at the same time. Like I almost shoulder rolled it because I saw it coming, but it still got me a little bit. And I was able to come back real quick with 2 right at.
It sounded to me like the niggas around you have gone ass crazy. Punching you in the face when you get out the car. This was a while ago though. I don't give a fuck how long you known them. You know them 17 years.
You say you fired.
Niggas to have to punch you in the face for real, nigga.
You say you fired
that nigga.
This was honestly, this was probably about 4 years ago. It was like 4 years ago. But since then, it's just arguments. But I mean, like, how we talking about how motherfuckers be falling off, how we were saying that. In this case, I'll say I got my core group has been the most solid thing around me. Now, the people that you allow, like where you got the new friendships that are coming that you're trying to give a chance and opportunity, those motherfuckers is like a wave. They're hit or miss. And that's the shit that you find that just can't stick or be consistent and that you just don't allow to really infiltrate your circle anymore. That's what I'm learning there. And that's for sure. I definitely don't fuck with new people no more. That's a fact. No new individual will be allowed in my life. That's true.
Hard for new people to become friends.
Absolutely. Are you saying
and hard for old friends to remain friends?
Do you feel like right now, is there a lack of understanding from some of your old friends as to why they probably don't have access to you the way that they want to, or can't be around you the way that they want to? Do you feel like there's a
give a fuck if somebody's not around what their understanding is? Not around, you're not around for a reason. And I'm 59. What I give?
Wait, you're 60. Are you 59 or 60?
I'll be 60 April 3rd.
Okay, so, what are we doing? Are we being honest here? Guys, let's look up Eddie. Look up Eddie's birthday for me, please, and just put it so I can see it.
You don't believe nothing I say. All I say is real shit to you, man. I'll be making up no shit.
I know, but you said 60, then you said 59. I feel like something's happening.
I'll be 60 April 3rd.
Okay, all right. Arsenio, can you confirm or deny?
I don't be making up stuff and putting on airs and all that shit. I don't have to do none of that shit. I could be straight up, throw it right down the middle.
Almost like my bowling ball should have went, except you didn't have oil. But whatever, that's a different story. Arsenio, are you the same? with friendships, relationships? Do you feel like you've held on or have been able to hold on?
This nigga don't have no friends. This nigga go to his house. He had his girl and his son and his mother and nobody. I never been to this nigga's house. I've known him 40 years. I don't know where this nigga lived. This nigga don't have no friends.
CJ, is that true? No friends at all? No
friends?
Kevin, it's absolutely true.
Absolutely. Why? Why is that? Why do you feel like you separated yourself?
I don't have a bowling alley, man. People don't want to come see me. They don't want to be my friend.
You got a drum set?
Yes.
I come over there and fuck around with your drum set.
Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffat over early. And we was...
Yeah, the older you get, the less people be around you. It's not just a show business thing. The older you get, the less, you wind up being around mostly your family and the really people you have really close bonds with.
Well, here's a question for you. And this one has always made me curious because I know how I am in my neighborhood, right? So, you get to a point where you live a certain way or live in a certain place, and there's people that live around you. I know where you are, Eddie. Is there a close-knit neighbor to neighbor thing where you live? Like, or do they not fuck with you? Like, do they not fuck with you?
Minds their business. You mind your business, and they mind their business. The next door neighbor mind their business. When you're driving through, you give a wave and you mind your business.
Have you ever had a situation where you're like, yo, man, such and such keep trying to fucking talk to me, and it's starting to piss me off. Like they're making their way.
Here, not at this house. Back in the old days in Jersey, I used to have that because the house wasn't in a gated neighborhood, so people would show up, and it would be like, obscure people like Dizzy Gillespie is at the gate. I'm sure he lived around the corner, so every now and then Dizzy Gillespie would come by the crib. Be out in the kitchen talking to Uncle Ray. What the fuck is Dizzy Gillespie talking to Uncle Ray in the kitchen?
Hey Eddie, Kevin, I don't know how this ended, but I was texting with Eddie once, and he says, "Let me hit you back. I think Suge Knight's in my kitchen." I don't know what that meant. But I didn't know whether it was a colloquialism, but people love Eddie.
I had Jermaine Jackson show up at my fucking door one time. True story.
Jermaine's been here many times.
Jermaine just showed up at my door.
I invited him usually.
No. I didn't invite him. I didn't even know him. I didn't even know.
Live in a neighborhood that he's in or something?
I think his he had a friend that lived in the neighborhood. This was at my old house.
But brother, please tell me you was nice to him. No, you wasn't mean to him.
No, what the fuck you gonna be mean to Jermaine Jackson for? It's still Jermaine Jackson.
All right, okay.
Yeah, you can't be mean to a fucking member of the Jackson 5. No shot. Now, I was confused. Like, I opened the door and Jermaine was there. He was dressed in it was almost like a concert outfit. True story.
Always dressed like. Always dressed in stage clothes.
Jermaine you see Jermaine at the sushi restaurant and he'll have epaulets and like a soldier hat.
No. I thought I missed the show. I really did think I missed the show. And he's at the fucking door and he go, "Man, I had to stop and see you." And I said, Jermaine Jackson? He said, "Yeah, man, we love you. I just had to stop and see you, man, and just tell you keep doing it, man." And I was like, "Thanks, Jermaine." And that was it.
They're real cool.
Yeah,
when I first came out here, the Jacksons was the only famous black people. With the Jacksons and the Jacksons, Prince, Magic Johnson, and Rick James. That was all the famous people.
That's it.
The Jacksons was so nice to me when I first came out here. The whole family was nice.
As a matter of fact, I sat with Eddie and Jermaine the last time I saw Jermaine, and Eddie played Jermaine some music. Jermaine wanted the tracks. You remember that night, Eddie?
I mean, he's Jermaine Jackson. Like, I think, that's where his passion, that's where his love is. Like I said, I was shocked just that A, he knew me, and B, he stopped and was just pleasant. It was more of a shock factor.
Anyone knew you?
Well, this was a little time ago. This was before now. I mean, now, yeah, I can say that.
You're not be shocked that people know you.
No, not now. I can't.
Even if you get on a plane and you fly the plane for 10, 20 hours, and when you get off and nobody can say nothing but Kevin Hart, you're not supposed to be shocked.
No, I'm not. I'm not shocked now. You're absolutely right. I cannot fight you there. You're absolutely right. I want to say this, man. Before we wrap up, I can say honestly, from the bottom of my heart, man. You two have done so much just for the world and space of comedy. I thank you for that. You know, I thank you guys for just being an example of the shit that can happen if you want it to happen. You both are exactly that. Eddie, you already know what you are to me. I've told you before, man, I love you to death. I appreciate you for, taking me in and just giving me the information that you've given over time. And more importantly, just being a dope dude to me. It's helped tremendously with confidence, with what I feel I can do and where I can go. It's a lot of it has to do with you, man. So genuinely, I fucking love you.
I love you too, brother.
And I'm fucking happy to see you guys back on the screen together, man. It was dope.
Back on the screen doing some stuff so for the young generation can know who we are.
He's not gonna let me get, he's never gonna let that go, by the way. That's gonna be
to be up on the screen again, being senior citizen.
Listen,
showing the younger people how we used to do it back in the old days.
I'm gonna see him and he's gonna go,
good old days.
This is exactly what he's gonna say. Yeah, nigga, on that shit with the young people. Motherfuckers know me. I know. I ain't, as long as you know. Like he's gonna low key, it's gonna be a low key check-in in person. Mark my words. Guys, goddamn Coming to America 2. Amazon Prime is going down. This is Comedy Gold Mines. You just got into the minds of Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and what brilliant minds they are. I fucking love y'all, man. I love you. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having us, bro.
Love you too, Kevin. Hey, tell your wife hello and God bless y'all, dog.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.